Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Neuro-Inclusive Dog Pod, the podcast where we bridge the gap between neurodiversity and the dog world. Today, I have got a fantastic guest for you, and it is a little bit of an emotive subject, but it's one that I think is really, really important to talk about. And from speaking with my guest when we did our pre-podcast chat, it was apparent that there is so many different elements to it, especially if you're a neurodivergent individual, or there's so many different areas that we can go down when it comes to this. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome today's podcast guest, which is Carrie. So hello, Carrie. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Morning. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm Carrie. I am a pet bereavement counsellor. I am a hypnotherapist. I'm a single session therapist. And I'm also a member of the Association of Pet Bereavement Counsellors, one of the founding members. And I provide pet bereavement support to pet owners, pre and post loss, recent loss, historical loss. And as I said, I also do hypnotherapy associated with that. I'm not a standalone and single session therapist. So that's I am a former veterinary care assistant as well. I was in practice for about 16 years, and I've been doing pet bereavement counselling for like 24 years now.
Yeah, it's one of these subjects, isn't it, where it's a deeply emotive experience, and one that unfortunately every pet owner has to go through. And I wasn't aware when when we had our chat, and just in general, really, there is so many different ways when it comes to that awful time of having to say goodbye to your pet, different ways that things can be done. So especially for neurodivergent people listening, could you explain some of the different ways that we can, make that decision and what we can do when that time comes?
So obviously sometimes the decision to go for euthanasia is taken out of our hands. Sometimes we're not prepared for it. Maybe it's a routine appointment that turns into a quality of life assessment, and something crops up in a blood test or x-ray, or it could be a traumatic accident. And sometimes we're put on the spot. We have to make a decision there and then. And obviously, for anybody, neurodivergent or not, holistic or whatever, it's very difficult. And I think for neurodivergent folks, there's so much more to it in a way, because you've got obviously the emotional upset and turmoil, but also the decision itself. But not only that, you've got the sensory input, the environment that you're in, taking in all the information, having to make a decision on the spot, more or less. And it can be very difficult. And sometimes when we are told that euthanasia is the only option, it's the most humane option available to us for our pet, you might think, well, I have to have it done here at the vets. I have to do it right now. And you can feel out of control, like you've no choice. And there are choices. You can, if you think, well, I don't want to do it right now. I want other family members around me. I want to do this differently. You can ask a vet about palliative care, for instance, where they may be able to offer treatment that can just help your pet, keep them comfortable until you get things in place. It may be that you decide to go ahead and do it there and then, because you think, well, it's in the best interest of my pet, and if I don't do it now, maybe I'll put it off. So I would say speak to your vet about their options, palliative care, or the euthanasia process. Ideally, they should give you like a pre-euthanasia handout, which explains the process. What can you expect? What happens? What is expected from you when you come in? What will happen on the day? And that can help to take out a lot of the unknown and the stress of they're not knowing exactly what's going on. If you do decide to come, to take your pet home, you may decide to have the euthanasia done at home, and the vet that you're with may offer that as a service. And it's worth checking with them. Is this something you offer? Can I choose the vet that comes out? Because you may have a particular vet that you get on particularly well with, and that your pet knows and well, but you may find that isn't an option. And so there are companies that do home euthanasia. There's like Cloud9, There's Everest, I think. There's loads. There's quite a few out there. So you can have the euthanasia done at home if you want to. And again, you can go back to the practice and have it done there. And it's all about just talking with the vet. What are my options? What do you offer? And some vets may not tell you exactly what they offer because they may assume maybe you already know. So it's important that you say to them, okay, when the time comes, what are my options? What can I do? Where, what options do I have? And then that helps you to gain a little bit of control over the situation. So yeah, either at the practice or at home, you can decide who's there and how it goes, who comes out, and when it happens. And like I said, just gives you a little bit more stability and a bit of the say in what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's important, isn't it? And I think I didn't realize that as well until just said about how if you went to the vets and they said, obviously, if it was like, a tragic accident or something like that, they might not say you can take them home or anything. But I didn't realize that was an option that you could say, actually, can I just have a day or so? Can we go back and, do it this way? Because I think sometimes you can feel so shocked, can you? And then you can be in that environment and you just feel like it has to happen there and then. So knowing that, if that is an option, and like I say, for some it might not be an option, it might be we have to do it now and now, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's one of those things as well, like when that time comes, if you're having to think about it, and if you've got a pet that's getting older or whatever it might be, and just knowing that you can actually, if there's other pets in the house, some school of thought is that if you've got other pets, it's sometimes better to do it at home, so those pets don't wonder where that dog's gone and stuff. But when it comes to kind of like the paperwork side of it, so if you've been going to a veterinary practice for all that dog's life, can you just ring up someone you've never dealt with before and just say, this is what, is there services out there that just do that kind of thing, or you don't have to get your vet to refer them or anything like that?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, like when you get to that point, it's it's your pet at the end of the day, it's your choice. And so yeah, you could ring a home euthanasia service and they may actually be already working with your practice anyway. Your practice may already refer clients to them and have that working relationship. But if not, then you do have that choice to ring up a home euthanasia provider and obviously let your practice know what's gone on, because obviously they'll have to amend the record so that you don't accidentally get a booster reminder or worming reminders, because they can't stop those coming out if they don't know that they're not needed anymore. And also it's good to let your vets know that you've gone ahead and you've made the decision and you've gone with someone else, just so that they know what happened to your pet, because obviously they care about your pet too, and they'll be thinking, oh well, they were going to come back in for a recheck, or we've not spoken to that person for a while, I wonder what's going on. And so it's just that mutual respect between you both, like, I know we had to make a decision and we decided it was best for us as a family to have an external service come out to the home. So you do have those options. It's your pet, and your vet just wants what's best for your pet at the end of the day.
So when it comes to neurodivergence and what is already a traumatic time and emotional experience for people, do you find that neurodivergent individuals respond differently, or they, obviously it's going to be an emotive time for everybody, but being neurodivergent adds that extra level of complexity sometimes, doesn't it? So do you find that being neurodivergent like changes the process, or they react differently in any way?
I feel that it could, because I think not only, like I say, it's a very emotional time, it's a very stressful time, and for anybody, like I say, it takes a toll on you. But I suppose when you're actually in, like, at the practice, not only have you received this news that you have to make a decision to end your pet's life for for their own benefit, really, you also have to bear in mind not only have you received this devastating news, but also there's the sensory overwhelm. Suddenly maybe the practice feels louder, maybe hearing animals in the waiting room or in the back rooms sounds just a little bit louder. You can't quite tune that out. Maybe the smell of the disinfectants gets a little bit stronger, and maybe like even the vet's voice or the typing on the computer, it just gets a little bit too much, and you get this sort of sensory overwhelm, and maybe feel like a meltdown starting to build up or a shutdown. And I think with regards to like grief and like bereavement, I found a couple of really good like blogs online. One was written by somebody called Harry. I'm going to absolutely, I'm going to mispronounce this gentleman's surname, but Harry Srinvasan, and they wrote about the autistic experience. The blog's called "The Spectrum of Loss: Grief Through the Autistic Lens," and that was on Psychology Today. And I love this because it put into words what he puts it so eloquently. So he said that autistics, that we thrive on sameness and routine, and it said that grief and loss are the most disruptive of changes. And I was like, yes, it is. It's the emotions and the sensations, it's heightened in us. It's and sometimes we may struggle to explain how we're feeling. We may not be able to put a name to the feeling or the sensation, and we may feel extremely very overwhelmed. The world's just a little bit too loud. Maybe we're shut down. We just can't take in any more information, and so there's we may become non-verbal. We may not be able to speak. We may have a verbal shutdown, and really struggle to articulate what we're going through, but we just know it's a bit too much. And so we have to like bear that in mind. And also there was a blog called "Autistic Grief is Not Like Neurotypical Grief" by Carla Fisher. Again, that was a fantastic blog. It just really says it. They put ASD grief things to think about, that it may or may not cry or overtly show emotion. Alternatively, emotions may be delayed or very extreme when they do come. That the grieving itself could manifest via increased ASD symptoms or increased sensory processing issues, shutdowns, meltdowns, decreased social abilities. Let's see. There was a part that said, what was it now? Something like they were struggling to work, with the grief, and they hadn't really sort of put two and two together, that the struggles with the skills that they would normally have and be okay with and be able to do their job was severely impacted by the grief they're experiencing, and there's almost a regression and a repression in skills, which in itself is very stressful, because you're thinking, well, I could do this, why can't I do this? And maybe having someone just say to you, look, you're grieving, you're going through so much, your brain only has a certain amount it can handle. And they'd also said that like our brains only have a certain amount of space and capacity, and when that's when it's filled with emotion and all this sensory input and the emotion of grief, that there's no room for anything else. So it's very difficult. There's a lot to it, but we may not realize that how we're behaving and how our skills have progressed is a direct result of just the overwhelm. But again, especially with autism, it's a spectrum. Everyone's different, and obviously there's different support needs that people may have, and so you can't really say, well, if you're autistic, you will behave like this, you will feel like this. It's just knowing that this is how you may feel, and this is how it may express in you, and just to know that however you express it is okay, and just be gentle with yourself. And you're going through a lot, and not only are you going through the grief, but you're also dealing with the overwhelm that comes with your neurotype, and how your neurotype, how you feel during times of high stress. So
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And like, so something you said there about obviously being both autistic and ADHD myself, it's that I didn't, it sounds silly when it's coming out of my mouth, but it's almost like I didn't associate when you said, oh yeah, just the change. And I'm like, well, obviously, yeah, why didn't I click those two together? Because obviously you're going to go, so for example, I've got 3 dogs, and if one of mine went, to go from 3 to 2, you think about the grief and the actual loss of that pet, but then you don't, my brain didn't automatically go to that change in lifestyle and that change in routine and all of the changes that's going to be part of every day, isn't it? And then the other thing that you said that resonated is the fact that you might not understand how, like, your emotions that you're processing, or if you're regressing in your skills or whatever, or if you're not feeling emotional, maybe you're not crying or anything like that, and you might be going through all of these emotions anyway, but then you're like, why aren't I reacting in this normal way? And it is just interesting, isn't it, to notice those parts and to think, I think as neurodivergents we sometimes feel a little bit not normal anyway, and if we to go through this as well, and we see the I know that grief is a very broad topic, and you go through different grief cycles, don't you? And I know that from when I was doing my counselling days, but to have neurodivergency on top of that, it's so complex, isn't it? And there's so many different emotions going on all of the time, and like you say, just because one person reacts one way, another person might react another way. And I think it's really important, if you can, to kind of have some kind of support system. And this is why I think it's important to have, like, I have the Neuro-Inclusive hub on Facebook, like little Facebook communities where you feel safe, because sometimes I think even if you've got family members that understand, some family members might know you're neurodivergent. So for example, my parents are in their 80s. They don't know I'm neurodivergent. We've not had that conversation. So you might not have that support system around you, or, you might have family that don't get it. And I think if you're already going through a difficult process, and then you can't understand why you're feeling, and then you've got other people thinking you might, why aren't you behaving this certain way? I think it can all be so difficult, can't it?
yeah. And there's also for instance, myself, I need to know why. And so I'll go down all these like deep dives and rabbit holes online. And I also, if I'm feeling a certain way, I'll look it up, or I'll research it, because I want to know either what it is, or that it's normal, and
Yeah.
so you find yourself like looking up symptoms of grief, or like how grief manifests, and then you're like, well, I'm not doing that. Am I grieving correctly? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, because grief is as individual as the person experiencing it. And another aspect of grief is neurodivergent folks is the maybe rumination, especially if you've lost a companion and there's no clear answer as to why you've lost them. I've had clients that have said, I just don't know how it got to this point. Like, I don't understand. And they're trying to find an answer because the brain just cannot deal with uncertainty and not knowing it has to have that completion. And I've said to people, sometimes no answer is your answer, because otherwise you're going to go round and round trying to, you racking your brain and researching ways that for things you might have missed, or what is the answer. And sometimes we don't get that answer. We don't get that clear cut completion. And one of the hardest aspects is having to be okay with not knowing. And it doesn't feel right, because it's like, well, there has to be an answer. I have to know. I was like, but you could spend your whole life looking for it, and nobody's going to be able to give you that answer that you need. So we come to a point where we have to say, well, I just have to be okay with not knowing. That isn't the main issue. The main issue is that it doesn't necessarily matter that I have a reason for it. It's the fact that it's happened, and that's what we have to focus on. Is that it's happened. Now what? How do I process this? Rather, because we can't change it. If we did find out what an answer, it's not going to change the situation. So we have to focus on ourselves and how we're going to work through this grief, and get through that.
Yeah, definitely. And being neurodivergent yourself, do you find that that has influenced how you approach things with your clients? Do you do things differently in any kind of way, really, but particularly knowing that there could be sensory issues or emotional challenges? Does it kind of give you a different level of kind of service that you help your clients with?
I think so. I was like late diagnosed as autistic, and but I've always sort of, when I've been speaking to clients, I've just sort of found different perspectives and ways of looking at what they've gone through, and then obviously since being diagnosed, I'm applying more of what I know to my work, and so I think I bear in mind that everybody's different, and I pick up on subtle cues that of body language or tone, and I'll pick up on it,
Mhm.
and then I'll think, right, okay, that may be this or that. So when I'm speaking to clients, if I feel that they're struggling to explain how they're feeling or the emotions, I found a couple of really great tools. There's something called Lindsay Brahman on Etsy. She does an emotion behavior wheel and emotion sensation wheel, and I've shown them to clients because it breaks down, like, say, I'm just looking at it now, like sad, it'll break down into depressed, which breaks down into hollow feeling a slow heart rate, tiredness, and it's like, so someone may not be able to say I'm feeling X, Y, Z, and they say, okay, well, what's sensation wise, how does that feel? And or they may say, well, I
Mm.
don't know, but I'm doing this. It's like, okay, so that may relate to this. And when I'm speaking to
Yeah.
clients, I'll say to them, a session is an hour long. However, if you want to break it up into three 20-minute sessions, or if we get halfway through and you need to stop, that's fine. So I'm more
Mm.
flexible. And if I'm doing an online session, so, if you want to step away for a minute, or if you need fidgets, you need somebody with you, whatever
Mm.
that person needs to get them through to talk through what they need to discuss. And
Yeah.
in person, I'll be like, right, you can bring fidgets, I can, turn the big light off, we'll just use natural lighting, bring a
Yeah.
blanket. And I'm all about thinking, what do you need? What
Mm.
accommodations do you need? And
Yeah.
I'll work with that. And if somebody's struggling to speak, I'll say, okay, we can do it via email, just write it out,
Yeah.
or so anything that that person needs, if they're struggling to get out what they need to get out, or it's just too much in that moment, even if we book the
Mm.
session and we've just started, I'm like, look, we can reschedule it, so I think
Yeah.
it's the flexibility, um, but also picking up on subtle cues, like if somebody's body language, if they're telling me one thing but the body language is showing something else, is that
Yeah.
picking up on that. And in my training at the minute, I'm doing a counselling diploma, and we've been talking about like Gestalt, and it's like, okay, you're saying that you're okay, but your foot's tapping or you're clenching your hands, and you're picking up on
Yeah.
those things, and just
Yeah.
bringing it out into the open. It's like, okay, I see, visibly that what can we do about that? What do you need? And then giving
Yeah.
that to that person.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think that's the picked up on the word that I use a lot, which is flexibility. And it is
Mm.
being flexible and being so because everything is so individual. So even the work that I do when I'm teaching agility, it's like, although agility is very skills based, and it's one of one of my bugbears of mine, it shouldn't be as skills based, but it has to be so much about what the dog is experiencing in that moment, what the handler is experiencing in that moment. And just that key to be flexible is really, really important. But then the other part of it as well is creating this kind of environment where the client feels safe. So, especially for the work that you do, so safe enough to open up and just being aware of that and knowing that it is okay, especially as a neurodivergent and even as a neurotypical, I suppose, when they're going through grief, it is okay to act this way, and as long as nobody's doing anything like too aggressive or anything like that, within boundaries, if you know what I mean. But like it's okay to express these feelings, because there is no kind of normal, because we are so individual, especially being neurodivergent. So yeah, it's really important, isn't it, to create that safe kind of environment.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think it's always not always easy to do, is it? I suppose, especially if you are working with someone maybe that you haven't known. I suppose in your line of work, how does it work when it comes to, do they get in touch with you and you work with them for a period of time, or is it one off? How does that work?
So I always offer like as needed basis. So
Yeah.
I won't say to somebody, okay, we're going to have 6 sessions. That's
Yeah.
the whereas in counselling for other areas, you might have a set session limit. So I'll say, look, we'll have 1 session. See how you feel talking to me. See how you feel afterwards. And I always say to clients afterwards, I'm here for as long as I'm needed, and I'm flexible. So whenever you need me, I'm here. But I tend not to reach out to clients afterwards to rebook. I leave it up to them, because just personally to me, it just feels a little salesy to be like, okay, we've had 1 session, I think we should book another, because it isn't up to me, it's up to them. And for some clients, 1 session is all they needed. They just needed to get things off the chest and be heard and validated. Others, I mean, I've had clients that will book in every couple of weeks, or it might be months down the line. They'll be like, oh, actually, can I talk to you again? And I say, yeah, I'm here whenever you need me to be, but I leave it to you to decide if and when you need me.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, just creating that no pressure environment, isn't it? And it's so important, because like when people are already experiencing like an awful thing, and I think just having that space to just think about, do I, how do I feel after this session? Because there's going to be so many emotions that come up. Sometimes you might just need a little bit of time to process, and then it might be, I don't know, maybe a few days later when you think, actually, I could really do with talking about this. And this, because you've not created that pressure of, you must do this set sessions and things. It's kind of, I suppose, from my perspective, it allows an even better experience, because you're given that space to just allow your emotions without feeling the pressure of, oh, I'm going to speak again next week and I've got to think of something to speak about. I think it's probably best to do that, to allow that, that space, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you mentioned before about how you used to work in the veterinary industry, and this is an area that really interests me. So how come you decided to switch to self-employment, and what was your experience like when it comes to working in that corporate setting of the vets, basically?
I think the difficulties for me was that I was autistic, but I didn't know it. So it sounds quite stereotypical in a way that I love animals. It's like, I'm autistic, of course I love animals, but I know that it isn't as cut and dry as that. I wanted to work with animals because I obviously love animals, and I want to help them, and I want to help people. And it was the science behind it, the different interventions and the procedures. I loved all of it. But I used to come home from work, and I'd be doing, when I worked, the first practice I worked at, I was doing like 50-hour weeks. And I'd get home and I was absolutely mentally and physically exhausted. I had no room for anything. And then I started to work in a 24-hour emergency hospital, and I was in theatre, and I was on boards, and I was a veterinary care assistant, and I loved it. I loved the role. It was high power, it was high energy. There was a lot going on, but on a personal level, I really struggled with the amount of people that were around me all the time, and the different personalities, and to be honest, sometimes it was a little bit. It felt a little bit cliquey in parts. People had people that they preferred to work with, which is fine, but there was almost this sort of distance in between. Like you got like the care assistants, and then you have the nurses, and then the vets. And I'd always struggled with hierarchy, and so like I knew the vets were above me and the nurses were above me, but I didn't understand why. In a way, I mean, I understand like from a from the qualifications and the position and the
Yeah.
responsibilities. But
Yeah.
I didn't. But I'd struggled to be like, but we're colleagues. I don't understand why
Yes.
I'm getting into trouble for voicing an opinion on this or speaking out about that. And it was, I
Yeah.
think it was just because I was autistic and I didn't realise that, you are colleagues, but you have to bear in mind that they are, like, even though they're not your boss as such, they are still in charge of you almost, and you have
Yeah.
to. And I really found it difficult to sort of fit in, and
Yeah.
so, and I think also there was almost this, I don't know, I think people, I probably came across a little bit odd, and that's just me speaking personally. I feel that
Yeah.
people thought there's something a little off about me, and that but they couldn't quite put the finger on it. And that isn't to
Mm.
say that autistic people are odd or weird, but that
No.
I think they just knew that I wasn't quite like them. I didn't fit. I wasn't saying the same,
Yeah.
But to be honest, like, being autistic, it was an advantage in my work because I picked up on things that others may miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there'd be animals that there was a dog came in once, and he walked in, and it was a weekend, so it was emergency hours, and he walked in, and I was like, there's just something not right about this dog, and I could
Mm.
not put my finger on it. And I brought him down the back, and the vet's like, he's fine, he's walked in, he's bright and alert. Why have you brought him back down the back? And I said, because there's just something not right with him. And they're like, take him back, he's
Yeah.
fine. Next minute, he comes being rushed back in because he's collapsed. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew there was something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was another dog that had, but sometimes I wouldn't speak out on things because I was like, oh, I'm just a care assistant, I can't say anything. But that was my
Yeah.
personal, how I felt. I wasn't, that's how I was made
Yeah.
to feel. There was a dog that came in and it was being examined, and I could see its throat billowing. And I was with another patient, and I was like, that dog's got a tracheal puncture. And I said it under my breath, and the nurse like looked over, and I was like, I didn't say anything. I'm not diagnosing. I can't diagnose. And then the vet
Yeah.
examines it. Oh, he's got a tracheal puncture. I was like, yes, I knew it. I knew it. I mean, and
Yeah.
obviously, I was devastated to the dog. I was like, well, obviously, it sounds
Yeah.
obviously like it was very
Yeah. I know what you
autistic.
mean.
I mean, and the dog like lived,
Yeah.
they were okay, but it was just that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did find it difficult with the different personalities and working with so many
Yeah.
people. Not knowing my
Yeah.
place, I think, was what I struggled with. Was where do I fit in, and I never
Yeah.
really felt like I fit in. So I knew that with pet bereavement, whenever we had clients that lose a pet, the vets had asked me to go in and speak to them, and they'd be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you're good at that. You speak to them," and
Yeah.
and I would. And then I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed this aspect of my job.
Yeah.
I really want to offer clients the support that they need, give them the time they
Mm.
need. And I thought, I can't do that in the role I'm in because I can't split myself to those spaces. So I thought,
Yeah.
I was on maternity leave for my second child, and whether it was the
Mm.
hormones or what, I thought, you know what, I want to do this full time. I want
Yeah.
to quit my well paid corporate job, and I want to set up
Yeah.
my own. While I'm on maternity leave, I want to set up on my own, and that's what I did. And friends and family were like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I will be
Yeah.
happier focusing on the pet bereavement." And so
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing, because I've been doing it throughout the years anyway, unofficially.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why not make it a service where I can dedicate my time? This is where my
Yeah.
heart really truly lies, is the supporting
Yeah.
these clients. So, and not having the experience of working in first opinion and emergency veterinary practices, I've seen a
Yeah.
lot. I've seen
Yeah.
some really traumatic incidents,
Mm. Yeah.
and so I use that experience to help my clients, and I love
Yeah.
working for myself because I'm able to set my own hours, decide who I see and who I
Yeah.
don't, work my way.
Yeah.
I don't need a uniform. I dress how I want, and it's just giving me
Yeah.
that freedom. And I feel a lot less tired than I used to do. I
Yeah.
feel more fulfilled doing this for myself and being my own boss.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important, isn't it? One of the things you said there about resonated with me, where you said that you kind of you were noticing things that other people were like that maybe other people might miss out on, or you noticed that things that you could like, I know you said you were not allowed to diagnose things, but you noticed that what the vet then went to go and diagnose. And it really resonated with me for when I was doing my training, when I used to go to workshops with my own dog, or just to observe with trainers that have been doing it a lot longer than me. And one of the parts was they would deal with another client, and I would just be observing them just as a spectator. And it was like I was like kind of preempting what the person was going to say. And I was like, I remember coming home to my husband quite a lot going, oh, he's not doing anything different from what I am doing with my clients. But because being neurodivergent, and one of the things I didn't used to do, and I've had to get really good at just recently, is shouting about what I can actually do for clients. Because for a long time, I spent it, for the first, I'd say at least 5 years of my business, I was doing it kind of like behind closed doors. I was creating all of these transformations for my clients, but I wasn't telling anybody else about it either. And then because I always felt like, oh, I'm not good enough, they're all above me, that hierarchy kind of thing, I was like just watching other people do it. And I'm like, well, I'm doing that. But I was doing it in my own little world. So I could definitely resonate with what you were saying there. Definitely. But when it comes to working for yourself now, so how did you find that transition from going from this corporate setting to working from yourself, being neurodivergent? Like you mentioned a few things there that, it worked out better for you because you could just be yourself a lot more. Is that the main thing that you found, just that you were allowed to just do what you wanted, basically?
Yeah, I feel a lot more relaxed. But when I first started, I tried to do it all as I felt I should be doing it. So I rented an office. I would dress very smartly. So, I had smart black trousers, like, makeup, everything. But I never felt comfortable. I felt like I was masking still, like I was putting on a show, and it didn't
Yeah.
feel like me. And now I'm like, well, I can wear what I want. Like I can do what I want.
Yeah.
This is my nobody's going to sack me. It's my business. I
No.
can run it how I want to. And since I've
Yeah.
started turning up as me, and not who I thought clients would want to see, I feel that that has affected my work in a very positive way, because I'm more confident and I'm more comfortable, and I just go with it, and I'm not thinking, oh, how should I be sat? How should I be looking? What would a pet bereavement counsellor look like? What should I? And I'm like, I am a pet bereavement counsellor, and people come to me because I'm me. So,
Yes.
but it has been, I mean, obviously it's stressful running your own business, but I've
Yeah.
felt that because I'm unmasked and I'm just, you know, I'm just me, and I'm doing this my way with what I know. I feel more fulfilled, and I feel comfortable. I think that's the main thing. I feel comfortable now, and I'm less tired.
Yeah.
I'm less mentally
Yeah.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I resonate with it a lot, and it's so nice to hear that when I speak to other people going through the same as well. And I think it is that level of when we are just ourselves, we do relax a lot more, we give a better service, because we are feeling like we're just being us, and we're focusing more on what we're doing rather than worrying about what we should be wearing, or whether I should have done my hair a certain way, or do you know what I mean? And it can be quite off-putting, can't it, and quite scary when you're like, oh, I'm just gonna actually have to be me. But what I've found, and what I've spoken about with lots of other different neurodivergent business owners, is what tends to happen, and it definitely happened with me since opening up the Facebook group and stuff. The more I was honest about, not I've always been honest, but the more I've been more honest about actually my neurodivergence and what I'm going through, I've suddenly had an influx of people that have gone, oh, you're saying things that are resonating with me, and I didn't realize. And I've had like private messages and stuff from people going, oh, I had one the other day. This person said to me, I read your post, and it was like someone had just come and just smacked me straight in the face. Now, I wouldn't have known that because this person didn't like the post and they didn't comment the post. And I think it's kind of just creating those connections. And I always say to people, like when I've got my business coaching head on, it's like we're like a magnet, and we will attract people that are, you know, are meant for us kind of thing, but you will repel those other ones. And I think from a neurodivergent perspective, that to start off with, that repelling of other people is like one of the things that we kind of go, oh, I don't want to not be liked and stuff, but it's kind of a thing that we have to process, we have to go through to then realize that there's a whole group of people out there and clients or whatever, they just accept us for being us. And it's a lot more, I suppose, liberating, isn't it, really? And then you can just get on with doing your job because you feel a lot better, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, on my website, I've you know, openly expressed that I'm autistic, and on the you know, on my little bio on the Association of Pet Breeding Counsellors website, I've said I am autistic because I'll say to people, you know, I am autistic. I may do things differently to what you'd expect, or my tone of voice may be different, and you know, I may not look at you when we're doing a session, or you know, just, and I'm sort of giving people that heads up that they, you know, I'm sort of, in a way, I'm sort of trying to get it out there before they pick up on it and think there's something like a bit like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on this. What is it about this person? And so I'm saying, look, you know, this is who I am, and also it's for other autistics or other neurodivergent folks to be like, oh, here's somebody that will probably get me and understand where I'm coming from in a way that a neurotypical or holistic therapist may not. And so it's also like a call out to people to say, look, I'm here. You know, obviously I can't speak for the people's experience, but we, you know, we have an understanding of where you may be coming from. So
yeah, definitely. So when it comes to actual the run-ins of your business, being a neurodivergent dog business owner, do you find that you have had to make adaptations, or you do things like differently to what you possibly thought you would? So for me, one of the ones is obviously I'm a lot more flexible because having both autism and ADHD, sometimes I wake up and my ADHD brain wants to go, let's do all of these hours work in like 20 minutes. And then my autism brain will go, I need structure and I need routine and things. And it's like having both of them is kind of a bit of a nightmare sometimes because you don't know which brain you're going to wake up with. So from a business perspective, have you found that you've adapted things for you to make it work as well as it could do?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I really struggle with, which is going to sound really daft because I do telephone sessions, is I really struggle with talking on the phone. Especially if somebody rings me, I panic, and like, you know, and because I don't know what they're going to say, I don't know what they're expecting, and so and I'll just, you know, as soon as the phone rings, my heart rate's up. I'm just overwhelmed. So what I've started to do is I've put accommodations for myself in my business to say, okay, I'm going to say quite clearly what I need from potential clients, what accommodations I need to help you. So I've said to people, if you want to book an appointment, either do it through my website or email me or text me. If you want to speak to me, if you call me, I've just been very clear and said, if you call me, I won't answer. Please leave me a voicemail and I will call you back as soon as I can. Like literally, even if they've literally just finished leaving the voicemail, I'll already be calling them back because I need to, for me personally, I need to be the one to, if I'm the one making the call, I feel a lot more confident and a lot more comfortable. So I'll say, if you want to speak to me, if I don't pick up the phone, it's not that I don't want to talk to you, it's just that I need to be the one to call you because it feels safer and better for me. And once I started to do that, I felt a lot better. And the phone will ring, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave it because I've been quite clear and specific on how I work. And obviously, if someone reads that and thinks, well, that doesn't work for me, if I call you, I want you to answer, then obviously I'm not the therapist for them then. So that's fine. So it helps to draw in people that understand it. And that has been a really big help, you know, to just that little thing like, you know, just I'll ring you, you know, or I'll reach out to you. You know, and that has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really interesting actually, because that's one of my things. I absolutely hate answering the phone, especially if you don't know the number, especially.
Yeah.
And I think it is that just that being, like we spoke about it before we started recording the podcast, that being put on the spot. And it's like, from a professional's point of view, we were speaking about it from when I go to an agility workshop, and they'll go, oh, how are you going to walk this course? Well, as an agility behavior specialist and having 2 grade 7 dogs, I should know how to walk a course. However, if somebody asked me on the spot, I'm like, don't know, and it just makes you feel, and it's just that being put on the spot. And I think it's a similar thing, because I am completely like that. If someone leaves me a voicemail, I'll listen to the voicemail and I'll ring them straight back. And it's that not knowing of, what they're going to ask me, how am I expected to respond, and what if they ask me something I don't know. And it's all usually, if in my experience, in my head, and it's all kind of me just over panicking and overthinking about things. But just by having that, and like you say, creating those boundaries is really important, isn't it? Because then we can deliver our best service. And it is kind of like seeing it as a positive, rather than saying, oh, I don't like answering the phone and there's something wrong with me. It's, well, no, actually, this is just what I need to give you the best service. And then when I ring you back, you probably have got a lot better phone call than if I was just put on the spot and been like, ooh, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely. So have you found anything else? Do you find that you, with the phone calls being the main ones, for me, like I say, it's the flexibility of being allowed to basically sort your diary. Like, one of the things I say as a business coach is, it's your business, your way. And I think the trouble is, with businesses in general, there's so much noise out there and so much marketing and salesy stuff that's been put out there specifically for neurotypical people, which may not actually work for us. And I think one of the things that made me go down the business coaching route as a sideline for me is, I had to learn all of the strategies and all how to do it, because I was paying loads of money into these things and they just didn't align with me. And like, one of the ones when I had a business coach was like, oh, you need to get into people's DMs and start up conversations on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. That is just not me. Well, if you want to make, if you want to make anything in your business, you've got to do that. And I'm like, I really haven't got to do that. Do you know what I mean? And it can be confusing, can't it, and overwhelming. So have you found that there's, what are the main things that, aside from the phone calls, that you do in your business? I'm presuming it's like flexibility, diary management, those kind of things as well.
So yeah, it's like flexibility, and also not sort of feeling pressured to offer a session there and then almost.
Yeah.
So I know I need at least 24 hours from someone inquiring about a session to actually going ahead with the session. So very rarely will I say, if someone calls me on a Monday, very rarely will I say, okay, well, I'll book you in for the Tuesday. Even if I've got the space, I know that, like you said, I can't give the best service if I know I'm already overwhelmed, and I need that
Yeah.
time to process what they've said, what they're coming to me for.
Yeah.
But another thing I've done though is, on my consent form or contract, is I used to ask, what are you struggling with the most? What happened basically? Because I felt that I needed to know that, so I could already start to formulate an assessment plan and a treatment plan. But I've realised that that was actually causing me more stress, because yes, they've told me what they're struggling with and what happened, but on the actual assessment, sorry, the actual appointment, we don't talk about any of that.
Yeah.
We talk about something completely different. So
Yeah.
what was the point of me asking them to tell me that, if that wasn't
Yeah.
actually what I needed as the therapist and they needed as the client? So
Yeah.
now I just put, usual, GP details, name, address, name of the pet, age of the
Yeah.
pet, and the GDPR and ethics, all that, and that's
Yeah.
it. And at
Yeah.
first I thought, is this the right thing to do? Am I going to be able to help somebody on the spot
Yeah.
without knowing prior what they want help with? And I
Yeah.
do, because I know my stuff. And when they
Yeah.
call, it isn't because I think otherwise it doesn't feel as um, flowy or as organic, because
Yeah.
it's almost like it's predetermined what we will talk about. And in grief,
Yeah.
especially, that doesn't work. you just basically need to say, so now a client will have the session and I'll say, okay, where would you like to start? Or if they're struggling with that, I'll say, okay, introduce me to your companion. Tell me about them. What were they like? Obviously, I've never met them. Introduce me to them. What should I know about them? And then that opens up so much, and I feel better in the service I'm giving because I've tailored it to suit it's suiting the client better because asking them beforehand was for my benefit, not theirs. And once I realised that, it was like, yeah, you're doing this for you, not for them necessarily. You feel like you're doing it because you think it'll help them, but actually, you're not giving that person the freedom to talk about what they really need to talk about. You're saying, well, this is what you put on your form, let's talk about this. And it's like, well, no, that isn't how it works. And I know that. And again, I was just trying to, I think I was trying to do it the way I had this idea of how it should be, how it ought to be. And it's like, well, no, it's however works for the client and for you. And it's like, it's my business and I run it how I want to, how I need to, but also in a way that best suits the client because that's what I'm here for them.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely resonate with that. And it's interesting actually hearing it from a different perspective in a completely different area of the dog business world to me, because I felt like that. And dealing with whether it's dog behavior clients, agility, whatever it might be, like you ask them so many questions. And for me, it was kind of like I wanted to get as much information as possible because I was like, oh, they've got all of this stuff going on. And, I need to know as much about them as possible. I think for me as well, it was kind of like from a confidence issue. If they tell me beforehand kind of what's happened, then I can get the right, the right books off my shelf to help them with their problem kind of thing. And I think for me, what I then found is, I think it's coming from a counselling background previously to my work in the dog world and knowing dog behaviour and stuff, what they present with on that day is usually nothing to, yes, it might have a bit of a reflection about something that's happened in the past. And I know it's different in your area of work, but what they want to talk about on that day or what the issue they need to deal with on that day can be completely, irrelevant. It's so different. So if I'd have gone down this road, then you wouldn't have actually given them what they needed because they presented themselves that way on that day for something completely different. And I think, I definitely resonate with that. It's interesting hearing it from a different industry, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's funny. So when it comes to pet bereavement, it's quite a niche field, isn't it? And if anybody was listening that was thinking, yeah, I'm interested in that, I want to help people, what kind of advice would you give anybody that's thinking of pursuing this area of work?
So I think it's very important that you bear in mind the qualifications involved and that there are lots of online courses out there like these like £29 when become a pet bereaved coach in a day sort of thing, which are great for CPD, I'd say. But if you want to do this as a professional service, I personally did a diploma in companion animal bereavement counselling by the Animal Care College, which was back in 2001, which was all paper based. I had to post the papers back and forth, and it was a lot. I did a level 3 diploma in pet bereavement counselling by Blackford Centre. I've done lots of these smaller courses for CPD and refresh my skills. I've done an advanced diploma in bereavement counselling and thanatology, which was great. People out there may have heard of her already, but Dawn Murray, who runs Living with Pet Bereavement, she's been doing pet bereavement counselling for as long as I have, and she is the main founding member of the Association of Pet Bereavement Counsellors. She does a higher diploma in pet bereavement counselling. And so if you're seriously considering doing this as a profession or offering this as a service, I would highly recommend going down the higher diploma route and doing it via the Living with Pet Bereavement, because what Dawn doesn't know isn't worth knowing. She really knows her stuff. She's been doing it for so long, and she's You know, she's
Yeah.
very well known in the pet bereavement world. And so if you are going
Yeah.
to do this, I would say do the higher diploma via her. But these smaller courses are okay for continuing professional development, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they have enough in them to allow you to set up on your own sort of thing. But a higher diploma or the diplomas I've done will give you the
Yeah.
tools you need to set up it as a service. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I would say. But um, yeah, I think that's probably the best route.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's important you say that as well with the I think as well from anyone, maybe they're thinking about kind of going into this area of work, but maybe they're just intrigued in it. And maybe, like you say, the online courses that you were talking about for the CPD, and I know you get them in dog tree, you get them in all industries, don't you now? I think they might be an area if someone was like wanting to gain an interest in it. So I'm a little bit interested in this area, but I'm not 100% sold on it yet. That might be a kind of like a little way to kind of put a go down a rabbit hole only on a a not very deep level, and then go, actually I need to know more of this. And if you're a neurodivergent person, and you will go down those rabbit holes anyway, won't you? You'll go get one course, then you'll be like, no, I want to learn this, and I want to learn this, and I want to learn this. So it's definitely interesting, and it's one of those areas that like it's so needed. Like I've not come across many. I think I only know you and one other person that does pet bereavement, to be honest. It's not an area that's widely spoken about, or even, I wouldn't say marketed as such. And because traditionally everybody thinks, right, well, the vets just deal with that, and it's just one of these things that you just deal with. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's, when it comes to like human grief, there's so much more support, isn't there? And so much more awareness of, you can go to counselling, this kind of thing. And when it comes to pets, I think sometimes, well, we're definitely as emotionally attached, if not more so sometimes, to our pets, isn't it? And then to think, right, well, we've unfortunately lost a pet, just get on with life is awful, isn't it, really, when you put it that way?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, and pet bereavement, I think over the past 20 years, like I think it's only been in like the last 2 or 3 years, maybe, or maybe longer, but I feel that pet bereavement is starting to become more popular and more accepted. But obviously there are
Yeah.
still those who, I mean, I said once that that, for some people, losing a companion animal can be just as painful, if not more painful, than losing a human family member. And the
Yeah.
backlash I got for daring to compare pet loss to human loss was, what
Yeah.
I was saying is, I'm not saying that losing a pet is more devastating than losing a person, but it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but it can be though.
Yeah.
So in a
Yeah,
way,
definitely.
I am saying that, but I'm not saying it as a
Yeah.
blanket statement. I'm
Yeah.
saying that to some people, it is more
Yeah.
painful,
Yeah.
because it's a different bond, it's a different relationship,
Yeah.
and with pet loss, it's still one of those losses where it falls under like the disenfranchised grief umbrella, where it's a grief that
Mm.
isn't recognised or accepted by society,
Mm.
and I think that's really sad. Like there are still a lot of people out there that are of the mindset that, oh, it's just a pet, just get
Mm.
another one. What are you going on about that for?
Yeah.
It's not like losing
Yeah.
a person. It's like, but they've still lost a loved one. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to be, you don't have to get it to get it. You know what I mean? Just be
Yes.
empathetic and understand that. All right, you don't
Yeah.
agree that you personally feel this person shouldn't be this upset, but who's to
Yeah.
say that you know, um, that's something I'm very like passionate about. That loss is a
Mm.
loss, no matter the species. That it,
Yeah.
and even with pets though, and pet loss, some even within that, people say, well, losing I don't know, a mouse isn't like losing a horse, or it's like, but it's still a loss though. It doesn't matter whether it had
Yeah.
8 legs, no legs, wings, feathers, or scales. You've still lost them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but pet bereavement counselling, I think for some people they still sort of see it as a bit of a joke. It's like, oh well, oh yeah, I've had people say to me, "Oh right, you counsel the pets that are missing their companions." Then, and I'm like, no, I help the people that have lost their animal companions, and
Yeah.
it is counselling. I am counselling people,
Yeah.
and so, you know, myself and others are trying to get out there that this is actually a profession. This is something that we're highly
Yeah.
trained in, and
Yeah.
you know, it is a valid and very
Yeah.
in high demand therapy that's needed.
Yeah, definitely. And it is that kind of getting rid of that stigma, isn't it? That is it is a lesser grief, and also being acceptance. I think the world needs a lot more acceptance in a lot of areas, doesn't it, at the minute? But as well, I think it's one of the things that always sticks in my brain is we lost our cat a couple of years ago now, and my husband was particularly attached to it. So, and he's a, you know, he's a muscly, you know, guy, and he's like, he was distraught for days and days and days. He was like really, really upset because he was on, unfortunately, had to take it to the vets and stuff. And I've never seen him that, you know, that upset and that, you know, just beside himself with grief in all of the time that we've been together, like, you know, 18 or so years. And I think being a man and going to the gym and being all this kind of persona, but then going, oh well, I'm actually distraught because my cat has died, especially like you say, like being a cat. Luckily he's got friends at work that understood it and stuff, and we understood what was going on. But I think it can be a bit like hard to admit, can't it? And you always, I think for him, he definitely felt like he had to kind of like hide it away a little bit and think like, I don't feel this way, it's just a cat kind of thing. But he clearly did. And it's horrible, isn't it, really? Like you say, because any loss is a loss.
Yeah, definitely, and it's valid, and you know, I've seen clients when I worked in veterinary practice that had come in and be like, oh, I don't know why I'm so upset. It's just a dog or it's just a cat. And for some people, I
Yeah.
think it was almost a defense to say like, oh, you know, I know what you're going to say. I'll say it instead of you, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
as veterinary staff, we're like, no, we totally get it. We really do.
Yeah.
And but you still find like now that I'd put a post on Facebook advertising my service, and somebody had put, "Oh, it's just a pet, like get over it." And I was like, "This is why I do what I do, because you don't
Yeah.
get over it. It is
Yeah.
devastating, and you
Yeah.
know people's mental health declines. And for some people, it's not just the loss of the pet. Like maybe that pet was owned by a relative that had died, and so
Mm.
that pet was the last living link to that
Mm.
deceased human loved one. So sometimes it's
Yeah.
not even just about like the loss of that pet, it's what that pet meant to them, what they represented,
Yeah.
and how they came into that
Yeah.
person's life. So I don't think people realize that there's more to it than the physical absence of this
Yes.
companion. It's what that
Yeah.
pet meant to that person's life as well. And it's
Yeah.
valid, it's totally valid.
Yeah, definitely. It's been fascinating talking to you, and I could talk to you all day long. So, but for the listeners that are listening, we're going to do 5 quick fire questions now, just so we can get to know you a little bit more as a person. So, are you ready? So, number one is a dead hard question. This one: tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee. There, coffee's
Yeah.
crawling back. The last few ones have been tea, so coffee's crawling back. So, what's one tool or app that you couldn't live without in your business?
I suppose it's my calendar. It's my
Yeah.
calendar, because I've learned to instantly put in an appointment into my calendar, and then I've got it on my home screen, so it's always there. And
Yeah.
I'll set alarms. So like for today, I'll set an alarm for an hour before, 20 minutes before, 10 minutes before. So yeah, my calendar
Yeah.
and alarms. Yeah.
Amazing. What's a hobby or interest that you have outside of work that people might not expect?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I really like lino cutting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got really into it. So yeah, I like line up putting and printing. Oh God, I've got a drawer full of them. So yeah, line up cutting. I really enjoy it. Yeah, and printing.
Amazing. Because if you're anything like me, like neurodivergent, we like something like the hobby turns into a bit of a business. And like, well, it's a standing joke in our house. They're like, oh, I mentioned the other day, oh, I quite like into photography. And they're like, oh, going to set that up as a business. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So,
See, photography is
uh,
another one. I've got photo albums that are full. I've got like literally thousands of photos of it's going to sound really nerdy, but I don't actually care because I love it. Moss and mushrooms. I've got thousands of photos, and I have actually thought about selling them or selling pictures. I've got wildlife pictures, and yeah, photography was one where I was like, I wonder if I could set up an Etsy store, and I'm like, no, don't.
This is got enough on our plates. Oh, so are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl, I think. Yeah, it takes me a while to get going. Although I do resonate with the permanently exhausted pigeon. Night owl.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, definitely night time. Yeah.
Amazing. And then the last one? What is your favourite way to recharge after a busy day?
Reading. I love reading. I've just got back into reading horror books, which I've not read for a while, but my bookshelf is actually mainly filled with books by therapists, so like biographies by therapists. So yeah, reading, because you can just get really absorbed in a book and just hours go by and get lost in it. So yeah, reading.
Amazing. Oh, amazing. And the last one, that's the most important one, where can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you and know more about what you do?
Yep. Okay, so you can find me by my website. If you just type in CK Pet Bereavement Hypnotherapy, you'll find me online. If you go onto the Association of Pet Bereavement Counsellors website, they're also on Facebook. I'm on there. We do webinars, we do blogs, and there's also a section of find a counsellor. My bio is on there. So you can find me that way, get in touch with me. Like I said, if you ring me, I won't answer it, but I will call you back.
Amazing. So what we'll do is we'll put the links underneath the podcast so people can just click a link and get hold of you that way. So it's been fantastic speaking to you. I've really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming on the podcast. And if you are listening to the podcast for the first time, make sure that you subscribe or hit follow so you don't miss a future episode. So thank you very much for listening. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from Carrie.